Good evening. Today we are happy to have such unique opportunity to talk to President of DFO, Mr. Hans-Albrech Hewicker, and we would like to ask you to tell about other President of DFO, ex-President Dr. Heinz Brüll. German falconers know him very well, but people abroad know about him not so much, and that's why it will be great if you can tell us about this famous falconer. Please.
Dr. Heinz Brüll was born 1907 in Hamburg, in the northern part of Germany, and all his life he lived in the northern part of Germany, mostly in Schleswig-Holstein, in the extremes north of Germany. And he has died in October 1992 in Hartenholm, 30 kilometers north of Hamburg. In his youth, there was a big problem because his father died very early and there was no money in the family. So he had to go away from the school and to work, and there were friends of his father who knew he was very intelligent, and so they paid for his further ongoing to school. And after the gymnasium, he studied at first medicine, and after the physicum, he turned over to biology and finished biology in the beginning of the 1930s. And then he made a thesis in biology with the theme, the birds of prey in Germany, the life of birds of prey in Germany. And that was especially about goshawk, sparrowhawk, and peregrine. And all the others too, but that were the main three species about he had worked. And that was a very new kind of science, because he tried to ask what is the function of this species in the whole landscape. And he came to this through his teacher, Professor Jakob von Uexküll. He was in the University of Hamburg the first scientist working in environmental protection. That was very new in that time, and the young Brüll worked in this direction. And this thesis from 1936 was published in a very good
Publisher,
yeah. Fischer in Stuttgart, and he has 3 times after at least 50 years the same book, but actualized, given out. So this was the theme of his life. And he worked at first after his academic in a nature protection station with the Baltic Sea in the Dars. It's a peninsula in the north of Mecklenburg.
Mm-hmm.
And there were sea eagle, peregrine falcon, and so on. And
Mm-hmm.
so he had a lot of possibilities to see and to work with that species in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And then came the World War II, and he has to become a soldier. But after the battle in France, he came back, and he had a special Aufgabe. He had to do a special thing.
Uh-huh.
There were soldiers with damage in the eyes.
I see.
They couldn't see further on.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed help by dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And he led a school for
Blind.
such dogs for blinds.
I see. Mm-hmm.
And that was a very special thing, and he has made this very perfectly, and has got other falconers
Mm-hmm.
there to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
They came from the battle to him, to the school for the dogs, because he knew falconers can work with animals.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a very special thing. He has, up to the last days, worked in dog education.
I see.
That was one of his mega points.
Not only ornithologist, but kynologist as well. Yeah?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And he has published about.
Very interesting.
And so he came out of the war without any damage, and then had nothing, and tried to start in the institute at the University of Hamburg, where he had studied at least with Professor Jakob Uexküll. And he tried to habilitate in a new science. He called it landscape biology.
Mm-hmm.
The biology of the whole landscape, with all the things from the earth, the water, the plants, the animals, everything.
Great.
Small animals, big animals. And
Great ecology.
yes, that was ecology, but nobody knew that name.
Yeah.
He called it landscape biology,
I see.
but nobody had interest. He couldn't start with that things, and had big problems, and has worked here a little bit and there, and the start was very hard for him after the World War II. And he worked then with game biology, together with Professor Nusslein from the Institute of Hunting Science of the University of Göttingen, and Professor Rieck from the same institute, and Dr. Frank from North Rhine-Westphalia. And they began with game biology and hunting science. And Dr. Ueckermann later came to that round table, and some more. And so he made the plan that the Hunters Association of Schleswig-Holstein should make an institute for wild game biology. And that started, don't know exactly what time, but end of the 1950s, maybe 1958 or 59.
Mm-hmm.
The Hunters Association bought a big area with houses and forest and so on. And there he was a chief and made science in wild game. And especially in that time, the problem all over Germany were, we had mosses and so on, was black grouse going back.
Mm-hmm.
And in Schleswig-Holstein, there were some areas with black grouse, but the damage was big, and he tried to find ways how to help.
Mm-hmm.
And he very often, with hare, with black grouse, with partridge, has made very differentiated knowledge about the things that birds eat.
Mm-hmm.
He has taken the
Stomach.
and saw what is in there, and has all that parts he found. Could he say that is that plant or that and that? So he was very good in knowledge of plants and their parts. And so you could say they don't find the plants they need to live. And so he worked in partridges, in hares, and tried to find ways to make sure the populations of the game for the hunters. And especially was the problem, Dr. Heinz Brüll were a protector of birds of prey,
Mm-hmm.
and the hunters were not for the protection of birds of prey. And so he had problems in his work, and 1973, yes, I think 73 or 4, his institutes were closed. The hunter said, we don't need him, and so he had nothing. And then he found a new job with Hans-Albrech Hewicker, the founder and chief of the Wildpark Ekold in Schleswig-Holstein. And he made a special program for that Wildpark, and that was a program for education of young people in such wildparks. And so he had his place to work there, and that was his last job. So he has brought very interesting new ideas, often not accepted from the other scientists and not accepted from the public, but today he would be very modern. And in Hamburg lived Dr. Lage. He was founder member of DFO, elder than Dr. Brüll. And from Dr. Lage, he came to Falconry.
I see.
And so in 1932, he became member of DFO and flew his first goshawk. Mm-hmm. And he has all his life only flown goshawks.
Interesting.
Maybe he has had sparrowhawk, but no falcons. Mm-hmm. He has only for himself flown with goshawk and said, that's the typical bird of our landscape here that I will have for the falcon bird. And he has every time had a dog and most time a spaniel, white-black spaniels that were for him the bird dogs. And in 1937, I think, he became lecturer of the DFO yearbook. And that he was up to the beginning of the war. Then he became soldier, couldn't do that. And he has made some very good yearbooks in that time. And after the war, he started new with hawk, and then became specialist of the DFO for bird of prey protection. And so he came in the staff of DFO, and 1957 was a DFO meeting in Schwarzenbeck in Schleswig-Holstein in his homeland. And up to that moment, Renz Waller was president of DFO, Ordensmeister. And there were big trouble in the DFO, and in that meeting in Schwarzenbeck was a new election of president, and Renz Waller was gone away, and Dr. Heinz Brüll was elected for president, Ordensmeister. And that he stayed up to 1978. So you can say 21 years he was the president of DFO. And I think he has worked for the DFO very, very well. And he has not only worked for the DFO, but he was one of the founder of IAF. 1968 in Düsseldorf, he was in the DFO there, and had, I think, initiated the meeting there. So he is a very important figure in the history of German falconry, and especially for the DFO.
And the World Falconry also.
World Falconry too.
Yes. First meeting happened in Germany,
yes.
And he was behind this scene, one of the main hero of this event. So we all of us obliged to him for birth of IAF.
Yeah. He had two sons.
Yes.
And one of them, Dr. Ulrich Brüll, was a Faulkner too, and had studied biology too, and had worked in hair, and later was in fishery biology. And I don't know why any time said Falconry is over for me. So he was member in DFO, and today he isn't. And the other son is not interested in the things. So his heritage is with all us, but not especially anywhere.
How many members in DFO was in that time when Dr. Brüll was the president of DFO?
When he started as president in 1957, I think there were 280, 290 members. And 1978, when Eckhard Schaumeyer followed him as president, there were 900 or 1,000 members. So we can say there were from 300 up to 1,000 in his time as president.
And now you are the president, and what is the number now?
Now the DFO is 1,600 members.
Yeah, considerable growth, as we can see. So you continue dynasty, yes, because you are relative to him, and that's why we are so happy to get this information from first hands, as we can say.
I started my interest to birds of prey and falconry with Dr. Brüll as a pupil, I think 12 years old. I came to Dr. Brüll. He had a working group,
I see.
maybe 10, 12, 15 most elder people, meeting every weekend in the forest and to look for the feathers of one special pair of goshawk and all the feathers of their Beutetiere, what they had catched there, and so we have 2 years or 3 years, everything that goshawk pair did was documented, and so I came to birds of prey. And then every day Dr. Brüll said, yes, we have a meeting in Schwarzenbeck, 1957. Then I was 14 years old, and there you can see falconry, and if you are interested, you can come there. And I have gone, and so from that time I been a fan of falconry and DFO. So Dr. Heinz Brüll is my teacher.
Mentor, yes.
Mentor, yes.
And do you fly also only goshawks like your mentor, or you more diversify your birds?
Problem as falconer is I have flown goshawk in youth times, but later I had so much work and honorary work that the time was not enough for a bird. I haven't a bird all over the time. I'm now 40 years member of staff of DFO, but all the time without an own bird. And falconry is very good because without you for yourself have a bird, you can look everything as the Faulkner, but only if there are problems. You have not so big problems as a Faulkner for himself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And who are you by your main profession? Is it connected?
I'm a forester.
Forester, yes.
And was director of a forest region in Schleswig-Holstein.
Again, ecology.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, okay, good, good. Mm-hmm. Very nice. Thank you very much for your very interesting talk. Now, due to your help, we will know much more about one of the leaders of European falconry.
I can send you pictures.
It will be great.
Maybe a list of the publishing of Dr. Brüll.
It will be great, yes. We can upload all this information on the Falconry Heritage Trust website with a gratitude. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.